Hey everyone, it's a dose of Dr. Drew.
Hey, there we are. Hey, everybody. So we are expanding our technological capabilities today. Let me give everyone a chance to pile in here. How's the sound, first of all? We've had a lot of sound difficulties lately, so.
No, we haven't.
We've had some sound
You
difficulty.
have.
I know you are. What am I? I don't quite know where we're going with that, but it's all good.
I know. He always has to pick on the engineer every time he gets on.
I'm not picking on anybody. I'm just asking if the sound is okay.
Sounds okay, Alex.
Sounds
okay.
good? Okay.
Well, we have a call-in number, so we're not sure how the sound's going to be on that because we're testing it out today.
So this is the new technological advances. We're probably going to be able to take calls today. We think we're going to be able to. So the number is 636-334-3999. Again, that's 636-334-3999. I'll see if any of you guys call through or if we can get hooked up with anybody. Thank you, Josette, for telling me about the sound. And you'll see the crack producer there has put the phone number up.
Don't burp.
There's nothing I can do about it.
Well, I didn't put any spices in that tomato soup.
Yep. So,
nothing.
All right, that's good.
It's just tomatoes and cream. Your favorite.
What is the difference between mentally ill and a criminal mind? Very different. Criminal mindset is something that I rarely have to deal with. People with mental illness will sometimes commit crimes. Addicts certainly commit crimes as part of their desperation to maintain their disease. Those are not necessarily criminals. Criminals tend to believe that the world can't be trusted. The world is a place that nothing is believable. Everything is BS. I always know when I deal with a criminal is that I'll start to work with them. I start to make progress, and then they'll just go, it's all BS. It's all BS. Everything's BS. And so they can't trust anything except their own wiles. So that's the criminal mindset. I'm sure there's other ways of describing it, but that's how I experience it. Okay, you have severe pain when I try to urinate. I reached out, have not heard back from my primary care practitioner. Usually that's a urinary tract or infection or urethritis or even sometimes a prostate infection. Again, we're going to take calls at 636-334-3999. If you guys want to try to call in, we'll try to take some calls. And
not 626. I actually
636.
I accidentally put 626.
It's 636-334-3999. But also, I will be.
This is a lot to do all at once.
Alex says you have to have some sense of ethics to not be a criminal. Yes. However, as they say, even amongst rogues, there are social norms. You know what I mean? There are ethical guidelines. You know, if you were on a pirate ship, there would be a certain way of conducting yourself that you would understand. It might be different than the ethical standards of a just world, but it's still a set of ethical standards of sorts. Miami, you're female. You don't have a prostate. You didn't make that clear to me. But so urinary pain with urination is usually a urinary tract infection. So
yeah, they suck.
Usually. Susan, there's a shout out to you there.
Oh.
Alex, I don't know that I'd blame Jack Sparrow. So far, no calls coming in. Again, that number is 636-334-3999 if anyone wants to take it. Oh, here's somebody coming in. Let's go ahead and see how it works. You ready?
You got one?
All right, let's do it.
They didn't leave a message.
Can I just talk right to her? Sheila?
Yeah, I guess so. Let's see.
Sheila? Hi, Sheila.
Hello. Oh, God.
Maybe it's on.
Oh, you know what I need to do?
1 second, Sheila.
Okay, try again.
Sheila?
Hello.
I'm going to put her back in the line.
It's not working.
It's not. We thought we were so smart.
I know.
Let me try this one.
Earlier. Here, let me try this.
This is Sheila again. Sheila?
Are you there?
There
we
you
go.
are. Listen to that. Hi, Sheila.
It's Sheila.
What's going on?
Okay, it was my fault.
Listen, I don't know that anything is, but I'm in rural Missouri. I work at a homeless shelter for free. I volunteer. I follow Dr. Drew.
I'm right here.
And can you hear me?
I hear you. And
I hear all of the problems. I'm not hearing solutions.
I've got them for you.
What are we supposed to do?
I've been chanting the solution. Well, I only know how to deal with California. I don't know what challenges you have there in Missouri. But in California,
I'm in Missouri.
I know, but in California,
I know. I've been following California. I know what to do in California. What do we do in Missouri?
What
do we do nationwide? Because California is more liberal. We're much more conservative.
Yes. All right. So
what do we do?
What we do is we create residential resources which have comprehensive mental health services. Ideally, we build communities out of these things so people can get vocational rehab and have sort of some kind of meaningful existence within those settings. We have some kind of gravely disabled.
Sweetheart, I'm a registered nurse, and it's not happening.
I understand.
It's not happening.
Well, part of the reason it's not happening is because of the resistance, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you need to have something.
So what can I do as a Midwestern, and you guys can call me a redneck, but I'm not, very, very, very open-minded. What can I do to open fellow Missourians or Kansas or Iowa or Illinois, Indiana, Oklahoma? What can I to try to gently open people's minds? And that's my question, Dr. Drew.
Well, let's try it right now. Okay, so
with California.
Hang on, Sheila, you're on the air right now. You're talking to me. So let's. What would you like people to know? Let's do it right now, and maybe I can help you send that message out. So what is it that you are seeing that people don't understand?
I'm saying they think it is a housing problem,
right.
And it's not.
Of course. And
it is a mental health problem, and I'm
right.
an RN, and
right.
that doesn't mean anything. It just means I've got 4 kids. One is an addict that is
right.
recovering, 4 years sober.
Right. So,
I understand addiction.
Right. So Sheila, when you say mental health, let's define mental health. Do you mean chronic psychotic illnesses like schizophrenia and addiction? Is that primarily what you're seeing?
Yes.
Okay. So
we can't put up 4 walls.
All right, here's what I want you to do.
Here's
what I want you to do. I want you to read a book called American Psychosis. Go read that book.
I have.
All right. And so
I've already read it.
Beautiful.
Yes.
So it helps you understand that we need to rebuild state mental health systems. Each state has to rebuild its own mental health services, right?
I am 55 years old. I lived through most of that. Watching, I wasn't an RN then, but I watched us shut down hospitals that were barbaric.
Yep.
Did things should not have been done.
Okay.
And turn them loose to the streets.
Right.
And now we've got tent cities.
Right.
And I just say, like, the Midwest, people don't. Here's the thing. Every family is affected.
Yes.
If they say they're not, they're lying.
Right. All right. So
or in denial.
All right. So here's
they're
what
lying or in.
I got a bunch of calls lined up, and I appreciate your call, and I appreciate, more importantly, your work. But here's what you can do. You can start hammering at your state legislature to expand gravely disabled, to expand conservatorships, and streamline the process of building residential treatment. I know those are kind of vague ideas, but think about it. If you have a better definition of gravely disabled, and open up LPS, open up your what do you guys call it in other states? We call it Lantern Petra short here. Your legislation around 5150, the way people are given psychiatric services and held in psychiatric service, it all needs to be revisited. It needs to be revisited, and you as an RN, I would say, would have a good voice going to your state representatives and just raising holy hell. Go to your local media, go to radio stations, do like what you just did with me, and call in and tell them what you're seeing. You have to do things like that. Okay, this is Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer. What's going on? Uh-oh.
Hi, Dr. Drew. How are you?
I'm good. What's up?
Well, I was listening to you. I'm watching you now, and I know that you're also a Scott Adams fan, and I was watching him this morning, and he was talking about something very similar, and he was proposing something like a community or a town
for
people who are homeless and need treatment.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought, well, so many, and I'm not an expert by any means, but I thought so many folks don't necessarily want to get sober.
Right.
And I know this might sound really weird, but what if they were provided, a safe way to acquire what they need,
Right.
And maybe,
Okay,
resources
so
in case they
all right,
overdid it.
So
but
here's
it's just sort of what is
your honest. I got you. So I don't object to what you're suggesting. So here's the thing: if you just tell drug addicts that it's legal to use, go use, legal to traffic, they'll die. Period. They're going to die. It's a fatal disease. It is progressive.
Yes.
So what you're suggesting is creating an environment where we administer the drugs to them and have nursing care monitor them. So if they get into trouble, you can adjust dose and whatnot. I have no objection to that. If people are going to go full harm avoidance, that's where it goes. I think it's a terrible way to sort of imprison somebody in their drug addiction. The way you ought to do it is create motivation, consequences for not cooperating with the treatment. So, and the drug addicts are not stupid. They'll cooperate. They will go do the treatment. And when they get off the drugs and they wake up, they tend to feel very differently about their disease. They don't have the anosognosia. Our states have created this way to privilege a biological, neurological state, which is called anosognosia or denial, where people don't see what's happening to them. You said most drug addicts don't want treatment. That's exactly right. Only 10% get treatment. So when you examine that 90%, 80% of them will tell you, I don't want treatment. So that's about 75% of drug addicts will refuse treatment unless you create the proper consequences. Now, I believe they don't belong in prison or either. They absolutely do not. But they don't belong dead, which is what we're doing with them now. All right. Hold on here. What's that, Susan?
Margaret Campbell. Do I know her?
You used to know Margaret. She passed away some time ago.
I think she came back to life. She's on YouTube.
Online too?
I was like, that must be for a spiritual reason. Maybe it's Margaret Campbell Jr.
All right, let me go back to, I don't see it on my list there, unfortunately. Let me go back to...
I know, I thought that was funny. I was like, I think she passed away.
Gonzo Escock is here from the Stern Show. Why do you think the governor would veto anything around gravely disabled? I think once you get enough people, enough families up there begging to get their loved ones home, I think the governor would have a hard time vetoing that kind of legislation. He's too shrewd of a politician. Gonzo, tell me what makes you believe that he would veto everything. And by the way, feel free to call if you want. The number is 636-334-3999. I'm looking at your thread here on the Restream, so give me a second.
We have some
Margaret Campbell's been on our threads before, on the Restream thread.
She's just another one.
She's in Australia. She's,
nice.
That's your...
Well, I have to
She's your spiritual animal.
Sadly, I'm not doing my show on Thursday. I announced the other day because Caleb Nation, our engineer, is in the hospital.
I know he's going to be fine, though. I promise.
But I figured out how to use the sound myself, and the phone calls, so we can take callers and maybe do a dose of Dr. Drew instead on Sunday.
On Sunday, good. We will do that.
My psychic was going to be Skyping in.
I'm going to try to keep taking some calls here. Bernard, go ahead, Bernard.
Yes, sir. How you doing, Dr. Drew?
I'm great. What's happening?
I work for a very large supply chain management company.
Yep.
And I've done business. I've lived in China for quite some time now. I'm back in the U.S. Does the United States have a strategic reserve for psychiatric medication?
That's a really interesting question.
As far as the government?
Yeah, they probably have something, but I bet it's nominal. I mean, we're not. That's a great. I wonder if we could tap into that. Well, I bet we don't have. Look, here's the problem. What's needed for this kind of population we have in the homeless environment are these long-acting antipsychotics, like long-acting risperidone, that sort of thing. And it's a shot. It lasts a month, and we have to begin using a lot of those kinds of medications, and they're very expensive. I'm going to bet those aren't in any kind of strategic reserve. I'm going to guess. You thinking about using it for the homeless?
No, sir. I know your whole show's kind of centered around
that. No, it isn't. Not necessarily.
I'm just kind of concerned because
Go ahead.
I'm in the middle. I've been in since this onset of the virus. We manage a large corporation supply chains.
Yeah.
And from what I'm seeing, I don't want to create panic, but we're having to do Plan B and planning phases and sourcing other alternatives.
So you're expecting?
I'm just concerned
you're
because
expecting,
I'm on some drugs, medication.
Right. Well, I think most of the stuff that comes from China is in the generic category, right? I'm worried about my antihypertensives.
Yes,
I know they come from China, and I'm concerned about that. So tell me more. I'm really interested in talking to you because I really feel like the main risk of this coronavirus is not going to be health. It's going to be economic from disruption of the supply chain. Exactly what's happening here. And
yes, sir.
And is it happening because China is overreacting to the virus?
There's no boats leaving the ports.
Is that because of panic? Is that because we won't accept them?
Because they have it's staffing.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, they cannot get the employees to go to work
because they're so scared. Right?
Yes. Well, no. I've been monitoring both sides. It's the government that's quarantining everyone.
I see. So they can't go. They won't go to work but that doesn't sound like the Chinese government. They're sort of, economically motivated. I'm surprised they would interrupt their own supply chain, particularly during these kinds of negotiations with the United States. Weird, huh? Or maybe that's part of their strategy to try to break us.
Most of my friends are in China, and I talk to them on a daily basis through different sources, and that's what I'm dealing with. I'm not able to get in contact with a lot of our vendors out there.
Their phones don't work either?
No, they're not at work, honey.
Some of them.
Home.
They're getting hammered with a lot of calls, and some of them are either still on. I'll just be direct with you. A lot of them are still on vacation, like in Macau, Thailand. Just to kind of give you that picture, Dr. Drew.
So they're staying on vacation.
No one has gotten back home yet
because they're afraid of exposure.
Well, the planes aren't flying in.
No, Susan, hold on. I want to hear Bernard's experience here. So it's because they're staying on vacation because they're afraid of exposure.
No, they cannot get into China.
I see. They can't get in.
Yeah, the flights are all closed. I was on a plane, and it said, we're not flying in because there's no business.
So what do you imagine is going to happen here? What do you think? What's your prediction?
It's going to be a big economic crisis.
Yeah. And
for us, too, as well as...
Well, already would be if it's our supply chains that are being disrupted. But isn't it as simple as turning the supply chain...
I've been doing this for a long.
Isn't it as simple, though, as turning the supply chains back on? Wouldn't it? It's because so it'd be a very steep, rapid, intense drop that will sort of recover?
Just to kind of give you a small picture, a lot of these folks are out on vacation and far away from the factories. None of them are able to come back via train, via any way. They can't get back into the economic zones to start working.
Right.
So basically, you have no one to go back to work.
Right. And that's going to persist for...
So kind of get that... It's going to... already I'm starting to see... Like, if you walk in a couple of Walmarts, they have aisles that are empty.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
From product.
Right.
I believe it.
And do you think this is going to go on for months and months? I'm fascinated by it.
It depends on how this virus... I didn't think it would ever get to the Middle East. And now that, it's all over the place.
Well, I think it's going to go everywhere. But I don't think it's going to be... Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be much milder than people expect. I think it's going to be... the more we're identifying the spread, the lower the fatality rate gets, right? It's not as though it's staying exactly constant. And so it's going to spread it's no doubt it's going to spread all over the world. But so did bird flu, and so does the influenza. That's what viruses do. They spread across the land.
Yes, sir.
But we normally don't shut everything down and have a panic in response to it. And I'm trying to understand why China reacted so fiercely to this.
Okay. On Twitter, do a search under Wuhan and do a search under coronavirus, and you'll see a lot of videos on there.
Of?
A lot of my friends are sending me videos Um, a lot of them, they're making people stay in their apartments. They're
But that doesn't
a lot of my
explain
factory workers
why.
that I know are still on vacation.
But my question is why? Why the big reaction? Given that it does not, it's certainly not as bad as MERS. It wasn't as bad as SARS. It wasn't as bad as many other viral illnesses we've
Was
had.
it bird flu like this?
Bird flu was way worse. Why was there not a huge reaction from
I was there.
that?
I was there when. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I agree with you. But
Yeah.
I was there during SARS.
Right.
And I haven't seen anything like this before.
Well, my question is good. So Bernard, you're thinking the same way I am. What do you think it is about this one that caused them to
You haven't seen it
react?
this bad, or you've never seen any kind of a
I
panic?
don't think the Chinese government's being upfront with us. And I'm just, when I see my friends panic in China, I'm panicked.
But, okay. Could it just be
it's way different from.
Could it
SARS.
just be a panic? You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's just the panic.
It could be, but then again, a lot of these videos that I'm seeing from my friends is that they're passing around. They have incinerators at the hospital for cremation for a lot of bodies.
More than they're telling
They're already
us.
geared up and set up.
More than they're telling
Yes.
us. You mean?
I don't think the government's being upfront.
That could be true.
Okay, so you think your
Not our
theory is
government, their government.
so your theory is the reason there's a panic is because it's the fatality rate is much worse than their data is suggesting. Is that
Yes, sir.
all right? That could be. It could be.
Yes, sir.
I will if
But
that's true.
Just to point out,
Yeah. Just to point out.
I was just curious about the medication because from what I'm seeing on the supply chain and for consumer products, it's not good. And I was just wondering, I started thinking about the medication on the way home.
Yeah,
Like, okay, if I'm planning all these, yeah.
I've been worried about that since this whole thing started because a lot of generics are coming over from China. So it's not just psychiatric meds; it's everything. And
Yes, sir.
I'm with you, Bernard. Thank you for the call. That was very interesting. And if indeed China has not been releasing the actual fatality numbers, then I will change my entire opinion on the whole thing. My opinion thus far has been it's a panic. It's a panic. If you look at the actual virus, it does not, based on data that's available, doesn't look worse than SARS. Looks a lot better than MERS. It doesn't look worse than flu. It's got a little higher fatality rate maybe than influenza, but it looks about like flu. And yet we're not in a panic about flu. Here's the flu data in the United States. 29 million with flu-like illness, 280,000 hospitalized with the flu, 16,000 deaths from the flu. 0 from corona in the United States. Now, if indeed in China the death rate is much higher than they've been telling us, and we just haven't gotten it yet, then that will change completely what I have been saying about this whole thing. Let me go back to you guys on the restream. I apologize.
Thank you, Bernard.
Could be a different virus than they're reporting. Do I recommend nicotine gum for vaping addiction? Absolutely. Nicotine replacement is a great way to go, and just tapering the nicotine in the vape is the other way to go. And this is Rigas Tony is saying that he spoke to someone that said that China never has been transparent, which is of course true. Doesn't mean they're lying though. Let me see. Long-term effects of buprenorphine. I've been taking Subutex for 10 plus years. Completely changed my life. Stay with it. If you are thriving on it, and particularly if you're down at 2 milligrams or below, don't worry about it. It's if people that continue to have side effects and don't feel quite themselves, that's people that really need to think about coming off it. I call population control. People get visas. Yes, they made it in lab in China and trying to cover things up. That may be part of the, maybe I've heard that rumor too, and maybe that's part of the reason that they're being so circumspect about the actual reality of this. Okay, I think we got through a lot of your restream questions. Do you have any question, Ms. Producer?
Me?
Yeah, because you seem like you were interested in what Bernard was saying as well.
Well, I understand it because the stock market just dropped like 1,000 points.
Right.
So it's everybody's responding to it.
Yep. So even if it is a massive disruption of the supply chain,
The stock market will come back up.
it presumably be a short-term thing.
People will die.
Okay. Why will people die of the supply chain?
No, they'll die of the flu or this illness. Some people die. The stock market will rebound.
Okay.
Don't worry about that.
Let me try to talk to Derek. Hi, Derek. What's going on? Derek?
Are you there?
I'm here.
Yep.
Yep.
Hey, Dr. Drew.
Hey, man.
I'm sorry. I think I called you Dr. Phil when I
It's all
called
right.
in.
Whatever. It's all good. What's going on?
All
It's not the first
I'm
time.
I'm having a real problem with addiction right now.
Mhm.
I'm trying to wean myself off alcohol with marijuana, and it's kind of working a little bit, but I'm at the point where I feel like my body can't function without a few shots when I wake up.
Didn't I tell you last time to go to the hospital?
Yep, and I did that, Dr. Drew.
What happened?
I had my landlord bring me to the emergency room.
And what happened?
Because I was done, and
Yeah.
and at that time I didn't have a job, so I had Badger Care, so everything was covered. And unfortunately, I went in and they said I wasn't sick enough.
To stay.
So they gave me a number for a rehabilitation place in the area. So I called them, and they said, well, you have to be sober 72 hours before you come in. I'm like, that's my problem. I can't stay sober.
Right.
So it's like, even though I try and reach out for help, it's like, I know. At the end of the day, it's all on me. I
Well, no.
myself,
I look. Yeah,
you know,
I'm of the opinion that alcohol withdrawal should be done in the hospital, and why they didn't keep you, I think, is unconscionable, frankly. And there are medications that we can give you that will work and make alcohol withdrawal safe, but it's very challenging to do it at home. Very difficult. So, did you ask?
I know.
Ask the rehab.
Like a seizure if I just do it myself.
I know it's not good. Ask the rehab group you spoke to where you can go for detox. They should have a detox place they refer people to.
Yes, they do.
And why don't you go?
And that's why when the rehabilitation told me that I have to be sober 72 hours.
Listen carefully. Listen carefully. So the rehab place, the rehab place should work with a detox center. So you got to call them back and say, where do you send people for detox? Okay.
And that's what I did.
And where did they send you?
That's why I ended.
Where did they send you?
That's why I went to the emergency room
because they sent you. They sent you to the ER.
Ready to go. And they're like, "You're not sick enough. There's nothing we can really do for you."
Hang on, Derek. I know you're in bad shape right now, but I'm getting confused. You told me you went to the ER because I told you to go, and then you got a referral to a rehab unit who told you you needed to be done 72 hours. Is that accurate?
No, that's not. I'm sorry. I called the rehab place first before I went to the ER.
I see. Okay, and they sent you to the ER.
They told me you have to be sober for 72 hours. I couldn't do it.
Okay.
So that's when I had landlord bring me to the ER.
Okay, I want you to call back the rehab place and ask who the hospital rejected you. Who do they use for detox? They will have a place that they send people to for detox. Okay? And if you tell them if the hospital didn't accept them, they accept you and that's the place they use, then you need their help in getting into the hospital. But these places that need you sober for 72 hours have places they work with to get you detoxed so they can take you. They want you.
They never tell you, though.
I know. Well, especially when you're messed up, it's hard to get the information. Right. So I would suggest. Go ahead.
I understand everything you're saying, but part two of my question now is I ran out of money. I had to go back to work. I'm working at Walmart right now. And, because I can't afford rehab or detox anymore. That's why I went when I had Badger Care because everything was covered, but they wouldn't take me.
And so
I ran out of money.
And so your work. Okay, hold on. So your work at Walmart does not give you any insurance. Is that correct?
I've only been there for 2 months.
And how long do you have to stay before you can get insurance?
I think 90 days.
Okay. Well, you're almost there. You're almost there.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, this is the problem. man, this is the issue, is the patchwork of the system and no one to pull you through. The other thing you can do, and I know this sounds kind of maybe not effective, but you'd be surprised, is go find an AA meeting to go to and raise your hand and say, I need help. What do you guys know? Because they often know a lot of stuff at the AA meetings. Okay?
They might help.
They'll know what's locally available.
I did do that. I have a pin right here saying that I went for the first day, but
Good.
No, it didn't work for me.
But listen carefully.
My body creep.
I know, Derek, but did you ask them, did you raise your hand and say, I need help, I need to find resources for detox? You got to raise your hand and go, I'm struggling at home. What do you guys know? Okay.
Yep. And I even had a person that wanted to sponsor me, and I just gave up. Because I lost another job. I didn't have any income coming in. I lost my girlfriend. I lost almost everything.
Well, but that's what happens.
To a point where it's like,
Derek,
All
right, Derek, but that's what happens with alcoholism. You lose everything. That is what alcoholism does. It takes over. It becomes the only priority. Everything else gets lost. It's great that you've been able to get back to work. Listen carefully. I'm not saying go to a meeting and get a sponsor. I'm saying go to a meeting and say, what do you guys know? I have no money and no insurance. What do you guys know about local resources for detox? Salvation Army. There's always something. But I don't know where you live. I don't know what's going on. But the people at the AA meeting will know people. So go back to the meeting. You don't just go once and say it didn't work. You're going to go the rest of your life. But you go, I'm just telling you for this particular time, to go once and ask for resources. Ask for detox resources. What do they know? Where can you go? And they will know something. All right, buddy. Hang in there, man. You're almost got insurance, too, in 30 more days. Okay.
Sorry. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, Derek, thank you for calling.
Stay in touch.
Yeah, do stay in touch by all means. Okay, here's Lisa telling the same story around opiates. Yeah, Idaho. She does sound like somebody, though, Lisa, that could be put on Suboxone as an outpatient. I know you're looking for something more comprehensive, and indeed she should have that. But in the meantime, you can keep her alive by getting her on Suboxone. And there are plenty of doctors that will do that. Okay. You've asked about peripheral neuropathy before, Lisa. If you haven't, somebody has. And you've been on Cymbalta and Lyrica, blah, blah, blah. CBD sometimes. I mentioned TheraWorks is for some people it works. Let's see what else you got here, guys. No, Eric, to be fair, detox can be quite hard. It can be really hard, especially from alcohol. What is 211? I don't know what that question is, James.
211 is the number you call when it's, 911 is when you want the police to come and it be a legal matter. 211 is when, say, you want social services to come and just pick up children that are having problems so that it doesn't become a criminal case.
How'd you find out about that?
Well, Julie, my friend, had a neighbor's kid who was naked on the front yard, and she called 911, and somebody told her on Facebook, and I just happened to see it.
Oh, interesting.
That 211 is more of a social services line.
That's interesting. Okay.
See, I know something.
Well
that you
done.
don't.
I like that.
I know.
I feel enlightened. Elizabeth, can you hear me?
I think that's what it's for.
Excellent.
I can. How are you?
I am good. What's going on there?
So I'm really just curious more than I am concerned. I had probably 3 physical exams, annual exams, in the past couple of years. And at each one, my heart murmur has gotten louder. Mm-hmm. And it was initially just like a soft 1 or 2, and now it's a 5. And so I've had to get echoes every time, and they've all come back normal. So I'm just confused why I have it in the first place. I'm healthy. I'm young.
So you understand that,
I just don't know.
So a heart murmur is essentially a leaky valve, right? You understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. And so blood...
I've learned that through my many echoes.
Okay, so the heart valves open and close, and when they don't close properly, blood goes the wrong direction. It creates a swirling sound. When we listen, we call that a murmur. And some people get something called mitral valve prolapse, where the mitral valve, which looks essentially like this, balloons up during contraction. So it goes like that, and then the blood swirls around under the valve that's ballooned up, and that creates a murmur. So a 5 out of 6 murmur, means you can hear it with your, without even your stethoscope. And so, and they're telling you that it's not a heart murmur, that they can't see anything when you get an echocardiogram?
No, I mean, they're telling me it's a heart murmur, but my echoes have been all normal.
And
What's the word they use? Unremarkable, uninteresting.
And so it makes me wonder if you have like some sort of maybe an arterial venous malformation or something else where, arteries and veins are connecting, creating a swirling sound. Maybe have you seen a cardiologist?
So no, I've gone to a cardiologist's office and the tech does the ultrasound, but I've never seen the cardiologist.
You need to see a cardiologist. Something's causing that murmur, and if it's not in your heart as it customary, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. No, it's and then my primary care asked me do you have shortness of breath? He's asking me, and I don't have any of that. The only thing I can think of that has been different in recent years is I become lightheaded and dizzy more often than usual.
Yeah, that's not good.
I don't know if that's related.
Yes, it can be related. Do your fingernails ever turn a little dusky in appearance?
So maybe.
Yeah. Did they ask you that? Did they ask that question?
What do you mean? Like purple?
Yeah, like not pink. Like when you do me a favor right now.
Extremely cold.
Yeah, okay. But the cold is
now at my fingernails?
Right, like do a squat. Do a deep knee bend and do a squat and stay down there.
All right.
And tell me if you have any shortness of breath or any funny feelings when you're down there. I know this sounds silly, but this is
like your dad for a minute. It was funny when he went, huh. He was a doctor.
I felt fine in the squat.
In the squat. And no problem getting back up again?
No.
She passes out. She goes, "What? Where happened to Elizabeth?" So, all right, you do need to see a cardiologist. I'm going to bet there is some sort of funny connection between an artery and a vein that's congenitally there. It's probably not intracardiac, probably not valve. There are other weird little connections that can happen that can create murmurs, and I'm betting it's a tiny little jet of something. But you have to know what it is because you have to be able to prognosticate around it and make sure it's not something that can get worse, right? So I absolutely would.
Yeah.
And don't be surprised. How old are you?
I'm 21.
Yeah, don't be surprised if they also ask you to see a vascular surgeon or a chest surgeon just to really examine what's going on. I know it's a hassle, but you need to do it, and then you need to call me back and tell me what happened. Okay?
Heart problems are bad at all ages.
It's going to be fine.
I will. Thank you.
But you need to. You walking around a murmur.
Like she's 40.
It drives me crazy when people are told they have a symptom. And it's just, it's just you've got that symptom. You need a diagnosis.
Yeah.
Right? What is causing that sign and symptom is what needs to be determined.
And my primary care, just like you, he seems like he was kind of just confused. Like it didn't really make sense. He said you should have grown out of it by now. Like it wasn't a concern a couple years ago, but the fact that it's louder now, it didn't make sense to him. So
it's not a ventricular, it's not a septal defect, it's not a patent ductus. They didn't say anything like that. It's gonna be something peculiar, and I'm very interested in what it is. And there's a lot of different things that can do this stuff. So do get a diagnosis, okay?
All right, thank you so much. Have a good night.
You got it.
Thank you for calling.
Thanks, Elizabeth. We got a prostate question. Whoops. Susan, I don't know how to scroll down. Oh, there we go. Now I'm scrolling down. Where was there it is, prostate surgery.
Wait, read a few on the restream.
Okay, I'll go back to the restream. Thank you guys on the restream. Let's talk for a second.
A lot of good questions. There's one about gaining weight on Remeron.
Gaining weight on Remeron, that can happen. Almost any psychotropic meds can cause weight gain of one type or another. A pain blocker that also blocks the euphoria independence of pain meds, that would be Suboxone, kind of. Although some people do get quite high on Suboxone if they use it, with that intention. Your You're on Luvox now. Hopefully that will stabilize your weight. You got a balloon put in his heart with a murmur, and he's almost 30 now. And
wow.
I'm just trying to scroll up to you guys. Susan, do something particular you wanted me to get in there?
Well, the reason why I just met a family member, and he had a heart attack or a stroke, or when he was like.
Heart attack and strokes are one's brain, one's heart, right? Totally different.
30s
totally different.
I don't know. It's just like it can happen at all ages.
Oh, of course.
Doesn't seem like it should.
Well, you can get all kinds of congenital stuff. People don't think about that. And there are, unique biologies of each individual that can set you up for stuff. Should a recovering alcoholic take pills for anxiety that can be addictive like Ativan? No, absolutely not. It's a huge threat to you.
Bad idea.
Uh-oh.
You're welcome, Lizak. She said, thanks so much for doing this.
You bet. We have fun with it.
Somebody said they liked your backdrop, too.
What do we have back there?
I just turned everything off.
The lights?
Yeah. It's our sort of behind-the-scenes thing.
Mom with Alzheimer's no longer speak and always has a terrified look. Yeah, I would not read a lot into that look. Again, the neurology, just think of it as somebody who's like having a seizure. I mean, the brain is so impaired at those stages of Alzheimer's that you just don't know what. I'm not sure there's anybody feeling anything in those advanced states.
I'm sorry, Joanne.
Yeah.
That's the hardest.
Yeah. You want to talk about your story with that?
My mom had that too.
Yeah, and
but I don't know whether I'd rather not be able to move or not be able to think at that age.
Right. The brain, in a weird way, the people that suffer the most are the ones that are fully intact neurologically and then lose their bodies. That can be rough.
My dad kept reading into it and saying she was getting better, and she wasn't.
Yeah.
You want it to happen, but I always wonder if she was in pain,
No, she was not. Oh boy.
I don't know. You're a better judge of it than me.
I'm looking at tough questions here. So let's try to get some of these. This is, I'm sorry, I got to get the name right. Frederick, what's up?
Hello.
Frederick, there you are. What's up?
Hello.
Hey, Frederick.
Hello, Dr. Drew.
Hey, man.
My dad just got out of prostate surgery about an hour ago.
Nice.
And the doctor gave us a report that it looked like there was a little bit of thickening along the bladder wall.
Yep.
And so what I'm looking for, frankly, what are some follow-up questions when we have time to talk to him. We'll be getting the pathology report in a couple of days.
Okay. So the question is, what was
about 3 months?
What was the surgery for?
It was prostate removal.
For prostate cancer?
Yes, sir.
Do you know what his grade and stage were? His Gleason score?
I believe his Gleason score was a 7.
Okay. And was it before surgery thought to be outside of the prostate or all contained within the prostate?
Prior to the surgery, we believed it was all contained in the prostate.
Okay. So the question is, does he think that thickening is the result of prostate cancer, or does he think he also has bladder cancer? Because the bladder wall thickening, in my way of thinking, is bladder cancer till proven otherwise. So I'm guessing they're going to want to do a cystoscopy on him, and they're probably waiting to see what the margins of the prostate are near the bladder, down to the bottom. So, this all could mean more treatment. That's all. I mean, the good news is that Gleason 7 prostate cancer usually does pretty well, even if it's outside the prostate. Okay.
Okay. And what we knew going in is that the tumor itself was in kind of a strange place. That's why they didn't find it in the initial biopsy.
Interesting. Where was it? Where was it?
I'm assuming it was closer to the bladder wall than where they typically see it.
Okay.
Because they were only able to actually locate it and biopsy the actual cancer.
Right. So
after doing an ultrasound.
Right, I get you. So the plan is going to be once they look at the total pathology, then they'll have something to tell you. Then they'll be able to make more sense of what that bladder wall thing was. And the question is, do we think that's prostate? Do we think it's bladder? Do we not know till we go and look? And how do you want to? And did he take any biopsies of the bladder wall while he was there? Usually not, but you can ask him if he did.
I have not.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no indication for what he said. I kind of assumed that they would have done that, but
not necessarily.
The first time that we spoke
not
to the
necessarily.
doctor.
It's a big enough operation that doing that kind of stuff can they sometimes go back inside into the bladder through the urethra to get that stuff. So, all right. Well, listen. It sounds like a little more than you had bargained for, but when things are weird, they kind of get a little weird. But it's still going to probably go pretty well.
Okay, Dr. Drew, one other question is, how quickly would they follow up with I believe you called it cystotomy?
That is a surgeon question. I don't know for sure. On one side, I can see where they might go right back quickly and do it so they can really understand what they're going to do treatment-wise. From another perspective, he's got to recover from this prostate surgery, and there's some risk of deep venous thrombosis, and they got to get him up and around real quick, so they might wait a few weeks. There's no real hurry in it. Okay. Okay,
and the conversation about doing the follow up with the radiation, they said for a few days. Does that make sense? Somehow
it's going to be a few weeks, and there may also be some medication by the sounds of things. Okay.
By medication, do you mean chemo?
No, you don't think of it. It's not really chemo. It's more androgen blockade, that kind of thing. Chemo for prostate cancer is way down the line kind of stuff. That's you're not into that kind of situation. And how old is your dad?
He is 72.
Yeah, he should do okay.
And in good health.
This should go pretty well. We'll see.
It's so scary.
Yeah, it's scary because you don't know yet what you're really dealing with. It's still a bunch of unknowns until you can define it and set up a plan. Then you kind of know what's what. But
is he good about going to the doctor and continuing? My dad would be like, "I'm not going back."
No. There'll be no question about that. He'll certainly follow up.
Okay.
Good.
Is that always
and I guess the other confusion I had is that you differentiated there between bladder cancer and the prostate cancer.
Those are different. But both are slow growing. I mean, bladder cancer you can often just cut out and you don't have to worry about it. Prostate cancer is a little more involved when it's on the bladder, and why do we have to give him two tumors, right? I mean, he's already got one. Let's just assume it's the prostate, but they need to prove that.
They'll know by their
especially what. Let me tell you my thinking as you described it. Especially that the prostate cancer was next to the bladder wall, and then the bladder wall was thick, and okay, well that sounds like it's the prostate, but you still need to prove it. Okay.
Okay.
All right,
again, just got done about an hour ago. I appreciate your availability.
Get him up and walking. That's the name of the game. And get that catheter out next week, and he'll feel
how fun that was, Drew.
Yeah, he'll go home pretty fast. You'll be surprised, but it's
so painful.
It's pretty miserable for a couple. It's miserable for about a week, and then you're pretty good.
Help.
You're pretty good after a week. All right.
Okay.
All right, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you,
Good
Doctor.
luck. Thanks for calling.
I didn't ask if it was a robotic or an open. Maybe it was an open prostatectomy to take longer to get over.
It's all the same.
It's all the same.
Anything in that area, just like you have to tighten your muscles to stand up, and the stomach is the worst. Anything in that area or below.
Yes, I'm looking through your calls, guys. How we doing on time, Miss Producer?
You've been talking a long time.
Have we?
You're a talker.
Is it time? Is it time we have?
Well, there's a lot of calls. Is there anything in there that just pops out at you? We can't get to everybody, unfortunately.
No, I know. It's driving me crazy.
But I'm so glad people called in. I'm so excited.
I know. This is
we have all these bells and whistles on Ask Dr. Drew, and this just happened. We don't have to send
we don't have to put up all the
emails.
fancy stuff. We can just do it.
Oh, my God. It's so much work.
All right, let me look through some
But
of
we
your...
do hope that Caleb Nation gets better soon and comes back to work, because I want to do Ask Dr. Drew in his format.
Oh, yes. He'll be back in no time. Surgery was done by a robot. Lisa, you know that in the case of Bernard's dad?
Nobody knows that our engineer has Crohn's, and we have to deal with his Crohn's every day.
You're violating HIPAA laws.
Oh, I am? He told me I could tell everybody.
Okay, well, in that case, you're not.
No, he's fine. He actually wants to talk about it because when he hears people complain about their pain, he's like, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
But he's so afraid to take the drugs, and we've scared him a little bit. But
all the conversations we've had about opiates
scared him.
But then
he found out he had another problem, which I don't know if I can say, but
until he decides he wants us to talk about it. But it's a problem that he's going to get corrected. It's going to make him feel a lot better.
So we won't be doing an Ask Dr. Drew this Sunday. We might do a dose of Dr. Drew just like this.
Okay. I've got a good question
with
here.
Lauren Savon, if I can get her to
Yes,
come
get Lauren in here. And she was part of the whole Weinstein, call it response team, the women that were the first. She was the first one to say me too, in my humble opinion.
I don't know.
Been off opiates for 6 years, but started Kratom a year ago. I just feel like I have to do something every day. Yes, if you're addicted, that's correct. The feeling that I have to have some kind of drug in me to feel good. For about 6 months, I don't feel any different. I'm terrified of this need for drug will never go away. It takes many years for it to reduce substantially. It will always be in you as a drive. And that's why you need recovery. You have to do something active to compensate for it. That's why you got to go to NA, get a sponsor, get people in the program. So you build an internal structure that regulates yourself without that need for reaching outside. But it takes a lot of work to get there. You can't just expect it just to happen. All right.
So I think Emily Barsh is going to come to Hillsides this weekend. Oh, she has to ask her husband.
Okay.
We have an event this weekend. Hillsides.org if you want to come and see Dr. Drew at the Langham. We're raising money for foster kids.
Hang on a second. I'm trying to get baby kill you. You want to know whether the Da Vinci robotic procedure complete an open removal or immunology. These are all different things. Some surgeons feel like the open prostatectomy they get a better result with. Most are doing the robotic radical prostatectomy. The immunotherapies are for a more advanced disease. The prostate surgery is for the localized disease, for sure, and for younger patients as well. In fact, Bernard's dad, who was 72 and had the prostatectomy, he's right on the margin there.
No, that was Frederick.
Frederick? Yeah. Frederick's dad, right. I'm sorry. Bernard was the guy with the China supply chain.
I kept track.
For Frederick, his dad was just right on the cusp where you wouldn't do that surgery. He's getting too old for it. And you would just like put implants in, beads, that sort of thing to kill the cancer, essentially.
It's so scary.
It's not scary because if...
it's not if you have a good success rate.
Yeah, there are scary cancers. Trust me. I mean, Alex Trebek has a scary cancer. That's horrid.
I know.
That's disastrous. But Rush Limbaugh has a horrible cancer. That's
brother. Okay,
yeah.
let's not compare cancers.
Yeah.
I don't want you to say that.
Is there a treatment for Minecraft addiction? Well, we're biological beings. It's crazy that we get from one day to the next. Okay, let me try to get... My eyes are really bugging me today for some reason. I apologize that I'm blinking like crazy. And
no.
All right, we have another call on Corona. This is Monica. Monica, are you there? Monica? Oh, it didn't work. Hold on a second, Monica. I'll get you in there.
Try again.
Yeah, it's such an awkwardly, it's a
she
weird
said, Monica Adams, topic Corona, bye.
Huh. She kept it to a minimum. I like that. Monica, hey, now I hear you.
Can you hear me?
I do hear you. What's going on?
Oh, okay, great. Hi, Dr. Drew.
Hi, Monica.
Gosh, I can't believe I'm speaking to you. And I love you.
Oh,
okay.
you.
So what would coronavirus look like if it hits downtown LA?
Yeah, so you're asking what if it hits in the homeless community?
Talked about that.
Yeah, and I think it depends.
Oh, I missed that.
Well, not today. We didn't talk about it today.
He and I talked about it.
Yeah, so am I don't know if I'm in camera or not where I'm sitting, but my back is starting to hurt. So
oh, you poor thing. Getting old.
Thank you. I'm suspicious that the majority of corona is far milder than we know. What's clear, though, is that in the immunosuppressed and the aged, it's bad. So if it got into the downtown population, I think, in the homeless population, to me, it seems like it would be devastation. We'd have to set up MASH units all over the place, and
How would you?
And this is what got me complaining about the homeless. I see it as a setup for infectious disease outbreaks. Now, I predicted the typhus epidemic. It came. I'm worried that bubonic plague is coming because it's endemic in the rodents in the area, and they've done nothing to control the rodents. If you get measles or corona or even influenza in a substantial outbreak in these concentrated environments of people who are in bad shape, it's going to be awful, and it's going to be a reservoir that's going to spread all over the Southern California area. So, yeah, Monica, I'm worried about it. I in my heart of hearts believe that corona is going to be a less significant problem in this country than people are fearful it might be, but it might be. It might be. I mean, I may be wrong. It might be. Does that answer it?
It answers it. I don't know. I mean, hopefully it's very mild. Yeah. I don't believe that a lot of the facilities, the hospitals are really ready if it does hit.
Oh, if it hits, we're not. Listen, we can't deal with the people such as they are not sick. How about dealing with them all sick?
Exactly.
It's going to be. Ugh. And then, what about our laws in California where you can't touch people who don't want help? What's going to happen then, everybody? Your stupid ass laws where you can't touch sick people if they don't want to be helped. Exactly what's going to happen if that breaks out.
How can you test them if they don't
want to be tested? Can't help them.
How are you going to even test?
Can't stop the spread. Can't test them. Can't do anything. My God, it's going to be catastrophic. Right. Ugh. All right, Monica. Thanks for the call. Thanks for making me think about the apocalypse.
Hey, I want to shout out to Joshua. He said he thinks that I seem like a delight.
You are a delight. Of course.
Oh my God, Joshua, I'm so proud of you.
You just don't see. Hey, you picked that right up. So
I'm okay. I have my moments though.
Stephanie developed C. difficile. Okay, so you got C. diff, which is we used to call it pseudomembranous colitis, and you know what sometimes works for that is a stool transfer. You may not like hearing about that, but if you tried all the antibiotics and it didn't work, sometimes a stool transfer does work. Consult your South Park for what that's like. That was a crazy episode. Okay, why don't we wrap this?
A lot of good questions.
We've had a lot of great callers, a lot of great questions.
I like when you take questions because when you read them, you're just like, and it's a lot better to slow down and answer the questions.
Okay.
What was that woman's name again that just was on? Monica? Oh, yeah. She wanted to know how the. Okay, I'm writing this down.
Hold on a second. Restless leg. Oof. Yeah. Okay. This is actually important. I got to get to this one.
Okay.
Carol, you there? Carol?
Yes.
Hi there.
Yes, I'm here.
How are you?
Hi.
So your son.
I'm okay. How are you?
Good. So your son was on opiates. He's off now?
Yeah, he's been clean for 65 days, but his legs have been just horrible, especially at night. They'll get better during the day, but at nighttime.
So he has restless leg syndrome, which is part of the withdrawal syndrome from opiates, particularly heroin. And it's not just restlessness; it's also pain, right? He has pain in his legs too.
Yes.
So
pain, he calls it restless leg.
It is. He's right. He's absolutely correct. And a medication called Mirapex. I've used to use bucket loads of that for this syndrome for people. It tends to work pretty well. Mirapex. Okay. Mirapex. So have him talk to a doctor about it's a Parkinsonian medication, but this all is caused by a dopamine imbalance in his spinal column that causes this extreme discomfort and pain. It's really awful. It makes him feel desperate, I know, but the Mirapex in pretty decent doses works particularly at night. Okay.
Okay.
Mirapex.
All right. Thank you so much.
You got it.
Good luck.
Yeah, this is doctors don't know how to do withdrawal anymore. We used to do so much of it, just hand over fist. And
medicine's a hot mess.
What's that?
Gigi says, if I get a coronavirus, I hope we get the Lyme disease too, because you can't have a corona without a Lyme.
Oh my God,
I
she's
know.
too funny.
All the jokes are going to start now.
That's good, Corona and Lyme. I like it. All right, I'm scrolling back up through your restream, and all right, guys. As soon as the show we wrap this up, my back's not going to be able to take much more. So
my baby.
It's been fun. It's been real. It's been unreal.
The 7 or 8 people online, we really appreciate you calling in, and we'll do it again. So just keep checking back with us, and like us on Facebook, and like us on YouTube, and go to Periscope and get a notification when we go live, and hopefully we'll be able to do a show this weekend.
I'm ready. We'll do it this weekend.
Yeah,
now that you've proven yourself, you can do this and do it with calls.
I want to do an Ask
Let's
Drew, but I don't want to take that branding and botch it up for Caleb.
Oh, no. Let's just do this as a same thing. But let's bring Lauren or Kay or somebody in here and have a co-host.
We're going to do one with Kay on Thursday because my show's canceled.
So Kay Smythe's going to be in here. She's a homeless advocate, a sociologist who came from the other United Kingdom, came over here and what the hell's going on in this state, and has been speaking the truth ever since. Sometimes you need somebody from outside looking in, going, "What the f is going on here?"
I mean, technically, I could do a show if I could get Rebecca in here, but my second
I think you should
calling in from New York, and I like to have him on the screen.
I know, but you should just do Rebecca, and you can just do a little mini show.
Yeah.
Just like I'm doing right now.
True.
Yeah, it works.
I know. Well, Kate can wait. I want to do it right.
All right, we're gonna do something on Thursday, and we're gonna do something on Sunday. So there you go.
For sure.
Thursday will be later in the day, and Sunday will be at the usual time, I hope. And until then, we'll see you next time. Get our happy joy music.
Thanks, honey. I know you want the music. I want you to whistle along.
No.
Come on. See, I'm better at whistling than you are.
Yes, you are.
And don't forget.
Oh my God, the session was over 70 minutes.
All right, you did. No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
Well, the phone line was on. So anyways, people can still see you because I'm... Bye, everybody.